Every year we get some great first round matchups. Yes, we'll get those number one overall seeds, especially a team like the Cavs go through and dominate in the first round, or the Celtics going through and dominating. But this year specifically in the West, all of our first round matchups that we're aware of at this point, and even some that we don't know about yet with the play-in, are going to be fantastic. So before the playoffs start, we're going to be going over a matchup every single day this week that I think is going to be highly contested, and we have a lot to go over. The first one today being the Denver Nuggets and three-time MVP winner Nikola Jokic versus the Clippers with a stacked roster of some older players, but guys that are still going out there and performing, and potentially a healthy Kawhi Leonard for the first time in what feels like forever, with James Harden playing fantastic as well. Let's break down this matchup, who I think is going to win, and why that team is going to win and advance into the second round of the Western Conference playoffs. So this matchup, as we know, is going to be great and one of the best first round matchups. And the most interesting part about this is that this season series really doesn't tell us much, in my opinion. Both teams split it 2-2, and the Clippers won the first two games, the Nuggets won the second two games, but we haven't seen these teams play since January 8th. Most of these matchups came in either December or January, with their first one coming at the beginning of the season. And since then, like I said, we haven't seen these teams match up. And in NBA terms, not playing a team since January 8th, now going into the playoffs, is a very, very big difference. There is a lot that has changed between both of these teams, specifically even for the Clippers. I mean, at that point, Kawhi was just coming back. We didn't know how long he was going to be out. Norman Powell was the leader of that team, looking like the most improved player of the year before his injury. And at that point as well, the Nuggets had a head coach. We still don't know exactly what's even going to happen going into these playoffs. There are so many questions surrounding this team, but it still has the best player on the court at all times. When Nikola Jokic is on the court for the Nuggets, which I expect him to be, it's honestly almost every single minute, it seems like. I don't think he'll be getting very much rest at all in this series. They have the best player in the world, no matter what. But when he's out, I mean, Kawhi Leonard has been fantastic, and James Harden has had another great year as well. Zubac, who I mentioned in the playoff preview before this, like I said, one of the most underrated players in the game right now, especially for this Clippers team. But let's look at the stats between these two teams and maybe be able to find a discrepancy between them and hopefully give a team an edge there in the statistical categories at least. So like I said, let's take a look statistically to see if we can find a difference between these teams. Both teams have been great this year, so let's go through the stats. First off, we can look and see that Denver has been the more formidable offensive team this season, putting up more points per game at almost 121, while the Clippers are down at 113 points per game. Both teams about the same in turnovers. The Clippers, averaging more steals, less blocks, pretty close there. More assists for the Nuggets overall. As we know, Jokic was putting up over 10 assists per game, so no surprise here that they have so many as well. A better defensive rebounding team as well, more offensive rebounds, putting up more free throws per game as well, shooting better from both three, effective field goal percentage, putting up less threes attempted per game, which isn't very much of a surprise to me either, just based on how these teams are constructed. The better 2-point percentage as well, but it is pretty close. But I would say that statistics show right here that the Nuggets are the better offensive team. But when we look at the defensive side of the ball, that's where I would say there's more of a difference. When we look at this offensive side right here between the Nuggets and the Clippers, the Nuggets obviously putting up a decent amount of more points per game, comparing 121 to 113. But that's also due to the fact that, they're putting up more shots per game in this sense. The 3-pointers attempted are pretty close, but the 2-pointers attempted, Denver's putting up more per game, which makes sense. They're going out there trying to play a little bit faster than the Clippers are as well. Like I said, when we look at defense, the Clippers have the second best defensive rating in all of the NBA this season, right behind the Thunder, which makes sense. The Thunder had the best record in the NBA. When we look at the Nuggets, they are tied for 17th with the Mavericks, which is the bottom half of the NBA. If you want to look at it like that, they're past the top 15. They're closer towards the bottom than they are to the top. So this team defensively is not that great, especially compared to the second best defensive team in the NBA. James Harden is playing, pretty good defense this season overall. As we know in the past, people said that he was a terrible defender. People would always complain about his defense, but he's definitely stepped it up. Kawhi Leonard as well. I mean, we don't have to talk about Kawhi Leonard when we're talking about defense. Arguably the best two-way player in all of NBA history, Finals MVP. He knows what it takes to win as well. Like I said before, Zubac has played a massive role as well. But I do think the main thing that's going to come down to this is defense. Like I said, the Clippers are just so much better defensively that yes, the Nuggets are better offensively, but I do think that defense is going to matter more, especially when we look at this Clippers team. Yes, they haven't been putting up as many points per game as the Nuggets this season, but when we look at it, they're letting up less points. So are they going to need to score so many more points than the Nuggets? These teams won the same amount of games this year, and the Nuggets have a lot better defense than the Nuggets, I think, have a better offense, if that makes sense. What I'm saying is the Clippers defense is going to matter more than the Nuggets offense in this series overall. Especially when we look at this Clippers team. Yes, they haven't been putting up all those numbers per game, but they have guys like Kawhi Leonard and James Harden who know how to score when they need to score. I mean, we saw what Kawhi did the other night in a game that mattered. We know what Kawhi can do in games like that. When they were going up against the Warriors to get a official playoff spot and not have to go through the play-in, Kawhi went out there, put up 33, 7, and 6, and played 47 minutes in that game in an overtime win. Like, I wouldn't be too worried about this guy. Norman Powell as well has come out and, this season been great as well with 22 points per game. And it seems like he's still, trying to work out those kinks, obviously, as well. But, I mean, Norman Powell for this Clippers team has been great overall this year. There's no doubt about that. And he's going to be able to go out there and score efficiently as well. Like I said, he's putting up almost 22 points per game this year. He knows how to score, and when he needs to go out there and score, he's going to do so. So a perfect time for him to come back as well off of that injury for a while. He's now back, and this team, I think, is going to get a massive boost offensively because of that. We know how good James Harden can be offensively. Like, there's no question about that, especially recently. He's been able to come back and put up some pretty good numbers this season as well. So Norman Powell looking like he's going to be completely healthy now. Missed a stretch in late February to early March, but he's been back for about a month now, so it seems like he is back putting in some pretty good minutes, so I wouldn't be too worried about him either. And like I said, it's very hard to count out the Nuggets when you have a guy like Nikola Jokic, but in the end, I do think the main difference between these two teams is going to be defense. Also, the Nuggets, their coaching situation is a mess right now, so I don't know if that Nikola Jokic is going to be enough to overtake this Clippers team, because I think the Clippers are going to go out there. They have great defenders across the board, right? It's not just these superstar guys. They have great guys across the board. That's why this team is so good as well. So I think overall the Clippers do have the edge in this series. I think it's going to be very close, but I am going to give it to the Clippers, and I do think they're going to go out there and win this series against the Nuggets due to that defense and overall, great guys across the board. And they have a head coach that's willing to coach them and that this team wants around, unlike the Nuggets, which I do think is going to be a big factor going into this. Let me know down below who you guys think is going to win this series. I think it's going to be very close. I could see an argument for either side. That's why I wanted to cover this one first, because I think this is probably going to be the best series overall. Would not be surprised if this goes 7 games, and I think it's going to be great. So let me know who you guys think is going to win and who you guys want to see me cover in the next episode. I'll see you guys in the next one.